Amber walked into the room. She was just as beautiful as I remembered. I couldn't take my eyes off her. She used to go to the same school as me, but when her dad got a new job, they had moved away. I had always had a big crush on her, but she never seemed to notice me. I was so happy when my parents told me that Amber's family was moving back to our town. Maybe now I would get a chance to date her. But before I go on, make sure you like and subscribe, and hit that notification bell to make sure you don't miss out on any more crazy stories. My parents were throwing a welcome back party for Amber and her family. It should have been the perfect time for me to spend some time with her, but it seemed like every other boy in town had the same idea. Every time I tried to talk to her, another guy would cut in, and they were all showering her with compliments. Amber, you look so cute. Amber, your hair is so nice. How did you get so fit? Fortunately though, Amber didn't seem interested in any of them. She just ignored their compliments. That was until Richard came into the room. He was the son of one of the wealthiest families in our town. He went straight over to Amber and said, "Hey, I heard you were back. I've got you a present." Amber's eyes started to light up at his words. She turned around to look at him. He handed her an expensive-looking blue box. "Go on then," he said. "Open it." Amber opened it and gasped. "Oh my gosh, it's gorgeous!" Inside the box was a pearl necklace. I could tell just by looking at it that it must have cost a small fortune. Amber and Richard spent the rest of the evening chatting and laughing together. It was obvious that the way to get Amber's attention was to buy her an expensive gift. But I didn't have any money. No way would my parents give me that sort of money either. After everyone went home, I sat in my room thinking about Amber. I knew that I had to find a way to get her an expensive gift. Suddenly, it was like a light bulb had lit up in my head. I knew what I had to do. I didn't need to buy her something expensive. All I had to do was find a way to make a cheap gift look like something very expensive. I remembered how when we were kids, we used to collect stones at the beach and paint them. I went out to the garden to look for the perfect stone. It had to be smooth. I found what I was looking for and took it back to my room. I painted it a shiny black color and put it on a chain. I put it into a nice box with tissue to make it look expensive. After school the next day, I waited at the school gates for Amber to come out. Eventually, I saw her, and luckily, she was alone. "Hi, Amber," I said. "Oh, hi, She obviously had no idea who I was. "It's Toby," I said. "My parents threw your family the welcome back party." "Oh yes, thanks. It was great." "I've got you a present." I handed Amber the box and she opened it up. "Is that what I think it is?" she asked. I smiled and nodded. "Yes, it's a black diamond." "But they're so expensive. Why would you spend so much money on me?" "Because I think you're amazing." "You are so generous. Thank you so much." I knew that this was the perfect time, so I plucked up the courage and asked her if she would like to go on a date with me. To my surprise, she actually said yes. I had never felt happier in my whole life. I couldn't believe that my plan had worked out. We swapped numbers and arranged to go out the following weekend. Friday night came, and I went to meet Amber at the movies. I went to buy the tickets and was just about to go inside when Amber stopped me. "Wait, aren't you going to get some drinks and popcorn?" she asked. I started panicking inside. I didn't have any more money with me. I had no idea what I was going to do. "Sure," I said. "You go find the seats and I'll go get something." I waited about 5 minutes and then went inside to find Amber. "Sorry, the popcorn machine is broken and they've sold out of the drinks," I said. Amber looked at me a bit strangely. I thought she was going to say something, but then the movie started and she turned to look at the screen. I let out a sigh of relief. We hadn't been on that many dates when I began to realize that Amber wasn't the one for me. She was constantly asking for things, and if I didn't get her what she wanted, then she went in a big mood and ignored me. She was so materialistic. I really didn't like that about her. It all came to a head when we were in town shopping one day. Amber had seen a new pair of shoes that she wanted. She kept on and on about them. "Oh, Toby, please buy me those shoes. I love them so much." "I'm sorry, Amber," I said. "I'm not getting you the shoes." Her face fell. "If you loved me, you'd buy me the shoes." "Right, that's it. We're over," I screamed. "Are you dumping me?" she asked. I felt a bit mean and didn't want to hurt her feelings, so I just said that it wasn't her, it was me. I told her that I just needed some time on my own. Now that I wasn't dating anyone, I had a lot of time on my hands, a lot of time to think. That's when it came to me. If I had managed to fool Amber with the necklace, maybe I could fool other people too. So that's how my business began. I started making lots of different colored necklaces out of stones and sold them online. It wasn't long before my business took off. Everyone wanted one of my necklaces. I could hardly make them quick enough. I expanded my business and rented a factory and office space. Now I had a whole production team working for me, and the money just came rolling in. I couldn't believe it when I saw the figures on my bank statement. I was a billionaire. I started really living the high life then. I bought the best designer clothes and ate in the most expensive restaurants in town. I also looked after my family. My parents had never had a new car, so imagine their faces when I gave them the keys to a brand new Mercedes. "Toby, that's so thoughtful of you," said my mom. At first, I was happy to keep on giving them the things that they needed, but after a while, it seemed like every time I saw them, they were asking me for something. "We've been thinking about going on a cruise," my dad said as we sat down for dinner. "Do you think you could book it for us, Toby?" I didn't know what to say. I was really getting fed up with my parents. It was me that had made all this money, and they did nothing but take, take, take. "That's it," I shouted. "I've had enough. No more helping you out. It's time you two stood on your own 2 feet. I stormed out of the kitchen and up to my bedroom. But I couldn't get away from them. They kept on knocking at my door, trying to get me to change my mind. So eventually, I knew there was nothing else for it. I would have to move out. I decided I would go and live as far away from them as possible. I bought myself a small island on the Caribbean and moved into a beautiful home there. It was easy to run my business from home because everything I needed to do could be done remotely. For a while, I just kept to myself. I didn't want to be near anyone. But I soon began to get bored with my own company, so one evening I went into town to check out the nightlife. That's when I met Paula. She was out with a group of her friends. I noticed her as soon as they came into the room. She was laughing at something one of her friends had said, and the sound of her voice made my heart sing. When I saw her go to get some drinks, I went and stood next to her. I made some stupid comment about the weather. "Is that your best pickup line?" she asked, laughing. It might not have been the best thing I could have said to her, but she agreed to go out with me, and it wasn't long before we were getting serious. I knew that she was the one for me, and she was the complete opposite of Amber. She didn't care about expensive presents. She loved me for who I was, not what I could give her. So I asked her to marry me, and she said yes. We got married at the little church on the island. It was the perfect day. "Where do you want to go on our honeymoon?" I asked her. "Oh, we don't need a honeymoon," she said. "Living here is like a full-time honeymoon." It was true. Living on our little island was all we needed, but I still wanted to do something special for her. The following morning, I decided I would go into town and book a surprise holiday for her. I told Paula that I needed to go get some groceries and set off in the car. I parked and was just about to set off to the travel agency when I suddenly felt someone grab me from behind. I tried to struggle, but it was useless. There were 2 of them, and I didn't stand a chance. They blindfolded me and put me into a car. "What do you want with me?" I shouted. "Leave me alone. You have to let me go." But they just ignored me. The car drove for about 10 minutes and then turned down a bumpy track. I had no idea where they had taken me to. "If you're thinking of asking for a ransom for me, then you're wasting your time," I said. "My parents don't have any money." The car stopped and they dragged me out. They took me into the building. I could tell by the damp smell that it was probably an abandoned warehouse or something. They took the blindfold off. I couldn't focus for a few seconds, but once I could see properly, I got the shock of my life. "What are you 2 doing here?" I asked. Standing in front of me was my parents. "Why would you kidnap me?" Then something even more shocking happened. The door opened and in walked Amber. Now I was really confused. "What's going on here? What do you want from me?" "We know what you have done," my dad said. "We know that you have been scamming everyone with your fake necklaces." My heart sank. "What are you talking about?" I asked. I tried to deny it, but they knew everything. Apparently, Amber had taken her necklace to a jeweler to get it cleaned, and the truth had come out. After that, she had put 2 and 2 together and realized that's how I had made so much money. She had gone to my parents, and they had come up with a plan to blackmail me. "You give us $10 million each, or we're going to tell everyone what you have done," Amber said. I had no choice. "Okay, you win," I said. "I'll pay you, but you have to promise you will leave me alone." They all agreed that they would never bother me again, so I paid them the money. I know it's a lot of money, but in the scheme of things, it was worth it. It hurt me that my own parents would do something like this, but I guess this just gave me all the more reason to stay as far away from them as possible. After they got their money, I didn't see them again. I went back to my office to work. I had missed going to work there every day. It was nice to be back. It was about a month later. I was sitting at my desk when I suddenly heard an almighty crash. I jumped up out of my chair and went to see what was going on. But before I had a chance to open my office door, it came crashing in. The room filled with police officers. "Put your hands up! You're under arrest!" one of them screamed. "It's a mistake. I haven't done anything," I said. "It's no mistake. You've been scamming people." I couldn't believe that my parents and Amber had gone back on their word. How could they do this to me? The police took me to the police station. They took me into a room and told me to wait there. It seemed like an eternity before I heard the door open. "There's someone here to see you," said the officer. I looked up. My parents were standing in the doorway. They came into the room and the officer left. "How could you do this to me? You promised you wouldn't tell anyone," I said. "We didn't say anything to anyone," said Mom. "We were as surprised as you when we found out." "Well, if it wasn't you, then it must have been Amber. Let me borrow your telephone." I called Amber and said the same thing to her, but she promised that it hadn't been her that told the police. I knew she wasn't lying. I could tell by her voice. I was so confused. If it wasn't my parents or Amber, who else could it be? The door opened and a policeman came in. "Come with us. You're going to meet with our witness." I followed him to a room at the end of the corridor. He opened the door and I looked in. I couldn't believe my eyes. "Paula," I gasped. "Why did you do this to me?" She looked at me sadly. "I'm sorry, Toby. I just wanted you to lead an honest life. But our life is so good. We have everything." "I know we do, but I couldn't risk the father of my unborn child being locked up in prison." I looked at Paula in shock. "Are you pregnant?" "Yes, I am." Luckily, the police let me off with a warning, as long as I agreed to stop scamming people. It was a small price to pay now that I was going to be a dad.